it's unbelievably important to see a psychiatrist. Now, 99.99% of you are not going to do that. Why would you? I didn't until I committed suicide, and my father found my body, as I've told you before. And you'll hear it again. Quick question: will 15 minutes save me 15% or more on car insurance? Well, how would I know? Try it, and then let us all know. How's that? All right. I refused. Why would I see a psych? I was sent to one when I was 20. Excellent, thank you. And I still ended up committing suicide at 25. So, you know, you're not going to want to do it. But ever since then, what I do as a preventative measure is to see a psychiatrist. And even though there's no pressing issue, there's no depression, there's anything like that, well, you know that it can always come back. And so it's like saying, you know, if you're getting sick, then that's the wrong time to have the apple. You should have been having the apple when you were healthy so that you don't get sick. Well, that's the thing. There are always other reasons and benefits to a psychiatrist, but the predominant reason that I go is like the same reason I have fruit, right? Well, I like fruit. Fruit is yummy. Are you a psychologist? No, but I have studied psychology for about 15 years. Has it been 15? No, sorry, 10 years. 10 years. So after the suicide, I heavily got into it, and I know more than probably most psychologists, I guess. But I mean, take that as worthless. What I'm saying, it's just an opinion. Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing psychs, cognitive behavioral therapists before that for years and years and years, and even, yeah, no, that's about it. So it's important to understand that stuff, I think, to a level that, you know, none of us know. We talk about the tip of the iceberg. Most people don't even know the tip of the iceberg, about how our brains work and how identifying how we get depressed or get angry or get anxious and learning how to deal with it. I have a gigantism. It's the worst on a good day. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. So it's a prevention rather than a cure. The reason it's too late by the time you start getting depressed and anxious and stuff like that is because you then have to find the right shrink. You have to have the money for it. You have to find how to get to them. You have to get them to get to know you. You know, then after they get to know you, you might not like them. They might leave. You know, there are so many things that can go wrong. So if you make it a job to go and do it, so that by the time other people around you start getting depressed, you can handle it, right? And I think a lot of undiagnosed mental illness is probably also the reason why so many authoritarian fake leftists are having mental attacks over Donald Trump. So if you are more mentally healthy, you can become much stronger to handle things like that, right? And like I said, I would not have done it had I not committed the suicide first. So I would have rather killed myself than actually gone to see a psych, right? But if that happened, then we wouldn't be on this scope. New people wouldn't be learning things that, you know, I didn't learn up until after the, you know, post the suicide. So it's very important. Now, what did we talk about? Well, for example, one thing that he was able to clarify he's a very good meme giver like you guys. And one of the interesting things is that we as humans get angry. When was your suicide attempt? 2006. When we get angry, we get angry when people do not see the truth that we see as self-evident. You are welcome. All right, so I'll say that one again. We get angry when other people do not see the truth that we see as self-evident. Okay, so, you know, you have a belief. You know it's so obviously true, but other people can't see it. And it drives you mad, right? So, subjective truth, exactly, bingo. And you see it everywhere, right? So, for example, you see a lot of people on the fake left go absolutely ballistic over Trump. Now, I'm here telling you that, you know, and you've heard me say this before, I've said a lot of things about Trump that are not very flattering. Well, remember the fake left, because I'm on the left and I'm not selling you out, right? So there's a difference here, right? You can be mentally strong enough to say, hey, the liberal guy, hey, welcome liberal brother. Sorry, you're right. Sorry, I completely misunderstood. So the left has sold us out. Yes, the fake left has sold us out. Yes, because you know, Jon Stewart in 2015 said that when you neglect your own people, you know, someone like Trump is going to come along and demagogue the F out of you. And he was 100% right. So that's completely normal. So you've got to own it, right? So that's the point. If you're mentally stable, right, you can see that what Trump is doing, you can say, oh, I don't like it, but you can understand and own it, right? Yeah, thank you. Right, but someone who's mentally ill, you see them, right? They're on the street, they're vomiting, they're screaming, they don't talk to you if you say anything positive about Trump, even though I might say one thing positive and 99 things that are negative, but that one thing positive, someone who's mentally ill just loses their mind. And the thing about mental illness is that we are all, what's the word? Not subjected. We are all susceptible. They push us people like, yes, they push us to people like Trump. That's exactly right. Exactly. Everyone is mentally ill-ish. That's an awesome meme, man. Oh my God, can you Twitter that to me? That's awesome. I want to retweet that, man. That's awesome. I love the memes that you guys come up with. It's so good. Yeah. We care of our kids' future, yeah. So without diverging too much from this topic, that's the reason, one of the reasons that I see my psychiatrist. So I come back and say to you things that, for example, may or may not be, what's the word? 1 second. Sorry. No, it's all good. Because I ever since the case, I get pulled over a lot for no reason. So I always get suspicious now. I was pulled over last week. Nothing, man. Like, anyway, I don't want to get into it. All right, so, me too. I'm sorry to hear that. So, you know, I see my psychiatrist and he comes up with these memes and it keeps you healthy, right? It's in our head. Yeah, it's probably true. It's probably, I'd say it's in my head, yeah. Yeah. So, and exactly right? You have these discussions, we realize it's in our head and we don't have a mental breakdown. And that's the problem. So we have a lot of mentally ill people. And we are all susceptible, as I was saying, to mental illness. And that's why it's like we are all susceptible to catching the cold. So you don't just sit back and if someone has the cold, then you rush off to the doctor. No, what you do is you eat right, you exercise, you get vaccinations, right? You don't laugh at people who get vaccinations. Well, some people do. But, you know, if someone's taking a flu vaccine, exactly, being proactive. And so for me, seeing the psychiatrist is a form of vaccination. It's a form of staying mentally healthy, like going to the gym. I go to the gym 6 days a week, right? I do that, touch wood, so that, as you can see, you know, I'm 36 and I could kick my 21-year-old's ass. 1 in 2 have mental illness, the other one doesn't admit it. Are you the same guy? I think you're the same guy that just wrote the other meme. All right, you got a gift for Twitter, my friend. Post them up, I want to retweet them. Post them up, I'll retweet them because one of my followers on this scope has like thousands of followers. Do I have diagnoses? Yes, I have heaps of diagnoses. And if you go cha-ching, if you left reaction also has a lot to do with ideology influence. Yeah, absolutely. But I also think that mental illness and ideology are related. I know that's not a proved hypothesis yet, but that's a conjecture from my side. I would broadcast that somewhere and let some psychologist measure it. Wow, thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to have you as well. Yes, I do have a savant IQ, which I spoke about in my last scope. Savant is different to genius and different to brilliant neurotypicals. So I'm a regular guy with a savant IQ. That means that it's sort of like, you know, like Spider-Man in a way, where I'm not really that strong or have that many superpowers, but I have one power. Yeah, it is important. I hope you can. That's the reason that gives me reason to keep going. You know, like, you don't have a reason to live in Western society, a lot of us. And that's part of the reason that brought me to my suicide. Now, you know, the book, The Power, I'm going to release something that I did. Are you an artist, actor, creative? Wow, okay, you need to go back and watch my scopes, but all of the above. So I read and write 7 languages. I'm a concert pianist. I'm also a mathematician and a physicist. And I was also, the accent so convincing. The spy. Yeah. Yeah, so my brain can do certain things, but there are things that it can't do. So I can't recognize human emotion and facial expressions very well. So there are different things, but I mean, the people who follow me in general hate hearing this over and over, I'm sure of it, right? So I'll just say to you, go back and watch the scopes. Actually, if you like, go to my Facebook page, Gabsmacked, G-A-B-S-M-A-C-K-E-D, and it lists sort of the life that I went through. What's this kind of intelligence called? It's called savantism. And different conditions cause it. So my savantism came from my autism. How good were you at playing the piano? Well, at the age of 10, I scored a perfect score by memory at the Conservatory of Music and the highest score in New South Wales. And I was only 10 years old and I couldn't read. I learnt it all from cassette tapes. Does that give you an idea? I would, on Skype, you're a psychology student. Savant. You know what we can do? If you are happy with it, I will record our conversation on Skype, and then I would post it to my YouTube page. And if you're okay with it, I'd actually do a live Periscope while we were doing it. then I would do it. Because I don't like doing things one-on-one, not for personal reasons, but because, you know, the things that we discuss, so much good can come out of it. I don't like things to stay hidden. You know, like I said, there are some truths in Christianity and Judaism, even though I'm not, as I say before, I'm not Jewish nor am I Christian. But there are some truths in there that you can find which are deeper than them themselves. Like, for example, Jesus said, you know, and he got this from old Hebrew scriptures, right? Can good fix anything? Yeah, well, I'll answer that question. One thing that Jesus said was, you know, if you have a lamp, you don't sort of put it under the bed, you let it shine. I really like that analogy. Can good fix anything? Good is the reason that anything still exists. So it's a constant repair job. So the Sydney Harbour Bridge, just like I think you have the Golden Gate Bridge, is it? Or they always require painting every single day, right? Like you're always painting one part of the bridge. So it's the same with good. Our conversations that we have are the good that fights against the tyranny that constantly wants to destroy us, right? So you have, like, you know, Trump, yeah, so, you know, you can call Trump a piece of shit, and in many ways Trump is a piece of shit, right? We all agree on that. But Trump is not a bad person. Anyone who thinks he's bad or evil, you don't know what evil is, right? I tell you who's evil. People who are evil: Paul Ryan, Hillary Clinton, the original George Bush, and these are all, I'm giving you subjective responses, so they're not scientific, right? So there's no time to explain why I come to that conclusion. But if anyone knows me, you know that conclusions are not facts. Conclusions are what you draw from facts. So they are a secondary, or what you call a derivative, which are less accurate. It causes a loss of information. Trust is more human despite being a bully and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So you can say, do you subscribe to teaching of Allah? No, but I do teach the Quran. And if you look at one of my last scopes, I translated the first chapter of the Quran al-Karim from Arabic into English using my weaponized autism. If you like it, direct message me. If you wear gloves as a graduate. This is true. I am still partially a child, yes. Anyway, so, yeah, and you're right. And so, you know, if I was any more mentally ill, I would get triggered by a response like that, right? But it was good, it was a good one. You know, but when you have a psychiatrist, you learn to mentally, you know, what do you call it? Immunize yourself, inoculate your mind against negative interpretations of that comment. So you take the funny part, you take the fact that you're not literally a child, but you're doing something that's childish, and children are beautiful, and so there's a sort of purity that comes along with that. And my brain did all of that in that instant to then realize it's a joke and to laugh about it, right? So these are the things that seeing a psychologist helps you do. The other thing that we talked about today with the psychologist was the fact that on what motivates you to translate the Quran if you're not interested in it. Oh, I didn't say I wasn't interested in it. The other thing he said was about clouds and how clouds can obfuscate the truth that lies between two separate parties. And sometimes we fall into the illusion that the party on the other side of the cloud is the enemy. When both of us are trying to see the truth, we're trying to talk to each other. But what we do is we get confused. The information does not flow through correctly because of the cloud that exists in between us. What do I do for a living? I am a writer, and there is a book that is about to be published. I already have 2 interviews lined up, but I'm trying to generate more funds for a massive advertising campaign for the book. And out of 15,000, I've already raised 650 bucks. I give speeches. I've got a speech coming up. My first speech had 7 people. The second one is in 2 months. And it's already booked out. Now, do the gloves have a secret power? If they did, I wouldn't tell you. All right, so yeah, the next one's already sold out. This is insane. That part blew me away, because I'm like, people are coming to see some idiot autistic dude in Australia come talk about autism. Why don't you call yourself a Muslim? Why would I? Did I say I'm not interested in religion? If I use the word interest, just an aesthetic choice, it could be. It's interesting, all of these are conclusions, which is evidence of the fact that conclusions are derivatives of facts. And therefore you can have infinite amount of derivatives for a single amount of facts. Do you cut the fingers off, or did they come like that? No, I cut the fingers off. Why should he? I don't know what that question is related to. The liberal, why should? Oh yes, gotcha. So you are a student of the topic, bingo. His parents are Christian, he's not a man of faith, as I understand. Bingo, also bingo. So my major in school, my majors were mathematics, this guy is a lunatic. I have been called a lunatic many times, yes. As Professor Stephen Hawking said, a genius to the regular person seems insane. So I guess that says more about your comment than about me. Who knows? One or the other. You are bright as F. Thank you. I appreciate that. Totally 80s look. Well, I am a child of the 80s, I guess. So. Get into my car. Hey, hey. All right. So where are we? Well, yeah. I mean, so basically at school, like I couldn't walk properly, I couldn't speak properly, but I finished the high school physics book when I was 12 years old. And the teacher, do you have an IQ test? Yes, I am the study of many university professors because I'm one of the few people in the world that have a savant short-term working memory. And that allows me to memorize paragraphs of things, and they go into my brain like a video camera. Okay, I did a scope. Actually, I think Fancy Flock was there, and the scope might still be there, I'm not sure. But I did a scope where my IQ is unmeasurable. It is higher than what the tests allow for. I am smarter than almost every human on the planet. But I don't want to get into that in this scope. The question is, can I rephrase? Yeah, so I got onto the piano after not playing for 10 years. I played once 3 years ago and once 2 years ago. And I got back on the piano. Are you able to write emotionally? Oh, sorry, I didn't see that question. Yes, but it is a learnt process because of the savant intellect. So I've been able to overlay the autism with mimicking humans, and in fact that's why my book is called Speaking Human, and it's about learning how humans function. In terms of playing the piano, yeah, Fancy Flock was there, and I just opened the piano live and I started playing. So I was able to remember most of it, but what's funny is that my fingers were not as flexible, so I was making a lot of errors, but it was still in my head. So yeah, that was interesting. And it's the same with anything else. But what I do, this is the interesting thing about my memory, which professors are fascinated about. I don't remember things like regular humans do according to the professors. What I do is I hear it or see it in my head and I copy it. You were there, that's right. So my memory is not a regular memory. It's sort of like cheating. It's like there's a computer in my brain and I just look it up. So I'm not really remembering. It's almost like a foreign object that's in my head and it does the work for me. So, you know, like, for example, at school, I read the whole mathematics syllabus the night before the exam. And then I went in and did the exam and I scored one of the highest marks in the whole of the state. And even though I was failing the whole class, I didn't even know most of the work. So I was just reciting what was in my head and just putting it on the paper. So yeah, I do stuff like that. Anyway, so the importance of this lecture was to talk about why I recommend that everyone go see a psychologist. Maybe I have to more than other people because I don't socialize, so it's important to have an external person with whom you can share your thoughts. Am I able to write emotionally? I am a Thomas. I'm going to talk about the Bible in a smack. This sounds like quite a statement. I'm not the smartest guy on earth. I have superpowers, but I'm just a regular guy. So, for example, you know, you asked me, Fancy Flock, can I write emotionally? It's a very big handicap for me. So, you know, imagine, the best way to explain it, it's sort of like, imagine I'm just a regular guy like everyone else, regular strength, but my right arm has superhuman, like Superman strength. So my right arm can do things that, and this is not a sexual joke, please, my right arm can do things that no one else can do, right? So, oh, you're welcome, right? So like my right arm can punch through like the earth, for example, but my left arm is really weak. Like I can't do anything with it. And everything else is just regular strength. That's how a savant IQ works. So it's not a genius IQ. A genius IQ is someone like Peter Thiel. So he's very successful in life because he is very, very smart in all aspects of his brain. I am not very smart in all aspects of my brain. I'm actually quite dumb in some of the aspects of my brain, but the parts that are smart are smarter than almost anyone on the planet. So it's a very lopsided way to work. So if you read my book, you will, what's my IQ called? It's called a savant IQ. So it results from different disorders. So my disorder was autism, and in combination with millions of other variables leads to savantism. Savant IQ, that's correct. The guy from Rain Man, he was a savant, but he was a different type of savant. So savant comes from the Latin to know, K-N-O-W, and you see it a lot in, like, in Italian it's sapere, in French it's savoir. So you know, that's where the word is. Asperger no longer exists. If you go to my YouTube channel, go to Gabsmacked on YouTube and look up first live autism speech ever, and there's a 20-minute speech. Yes, all the time. And most of the time I don't know what those emotions are. In fact, I'm not even aware that I am succumbing to those emotions, and it's explained by other people. So for example, if you go to my Gabsmacked, I talk about the purpose of enjoyment, and I explain to people with autism why it's important to have enjoyment and what enjoyment is, and I quantize it in a mathematical format. AQ or IQ, they're two different things. So on the AQ scale, that's the autistic quotient scale. There are only 8 people in Australia who scored as high as me or higher. Asperger has been merged with high-functioning autism. That happened 2 years ago in the Diagnostic Services Manual, edition 5. Yeah. So in terms of, yeah, like, I know some emotions. Like, I know anger. When I get angry, I know it. But sadness and joy, AQ. Okay, yeah, the autism quotient goes up to 220. The IQ quotient is based upon a normal distribution and therefore has no limit, but it is inversely related to how many people exist on that level. So for example, if your IQ is a certain number that represents the top 1%, 2 brothers of a friend, my diagnosed as Asperger's. Yeah, so they'd be now reclassified as high functioning autism. I am 36 years of age, but you wouldn't know it, would you? That's another thing that runs in my grandfather's side of the family. So what's really interesting is that my grandfather, my mother, my mother's brother, and myself all have the autistic strain, and all of us age very slowly. And I don't know if they're related, because my other mother's brother and my brother, who don't have autism, age a lot more quickly. Like, my brother's younger than me, but he looks like he's older than me. So I don't know if that's related or not. I don't know. How would know it? Would know it. Would know it. Are you talking about recognizing emotions? So for example, somebody discovered me who has a brother who's autistic, and she explained to me that the purpose of fun is to build up positive emotion so that you can handle things that drain your emotion. You think you look old or young. I think I look like me, but out of every 10 people who know my age, I would say 3 of them think I'm in my 20s, another 5 think I'm 30, and then a couple of people think I'm 36. So that's normally how it works. But it depends on how I'm dressed. Maybe it's the hair, I'm not sure. I don't know. Positive intelligence. Positive emotion, yeah. So yeah, positive emotion, that's required for negative emotion when you go to work. And that made more sense to me. Then I realized why people socialize. I always assumed because I was part Korean, yeah. Well, that's the thing about bloody Southeast Asians. You got that gift, mate. Yeah, you would. With your Korean blood, you probably look like you're 15. Man. Anyway, I think that's all I was going to talk about with the autism thing. But if you know any people that have money to spare, I'm super big though. That's funny. Well, you're a truck driver, you know. You got to fit the, fit the stereotype. Yeah. So if you know any rich people, forward on this scope. Unless it's VIP. If this is VIP, no, it's not. Yeah, forward it on, and we will try and raise up some money to get the book out. I'm 40. People think I look young. Yeah, you actually do look a lot younger. I saw your photo. 6'6". My God, I don't want to mess with you. Paint something. Ahlan wa sahlan. All right, I'm gonna go, my friends. I've got to go sort out this dry cleaning problem. Then I've got to go home and do some physics and maths and Syriac and upload stuff you were reading about me. I am sorry to hear that. Bye bye, my good friends. GoFundMe, send it to rich people. Let's go to GoFundMe. Can't wait for the next speech, man. Already sold out, very exciting. You have no rich friends, you're like me. Am I a fast learner with languages? Yes, I learned French and Italian in 40 hours, and then I became a teacher of both of them at the very same school where I was learning both languages. In fact, when I was learning French, they were teaching Italian in the room behind me, and I picked it up. Yeah, you missed me. It's a shame. 40 hours, and I became fluent to the point where the other teachers thought I was a native. So these are some of the things that I can do. Stay a little. I tell you what, I'm going to make another scope, and I'll invite you, Paint Something, in about 10 minutes, and then we can say hello. Maybe I'll do a VIP scope for you guys. Always a pleasure. Let's talk.